We want to welcome everybody to another episode of You and the Law podcast. I'm one of the hosts of the show, Virgil Green. And as always, I got to introduce the brother who sits next to me every Thursday at this time, who goes by the name of Chief, the ultimate beast,
Swaggy one.
Swaggy one.
The ultimate beast.
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Not a whole lot, man.
You good? You got
I'm
something to say
good, man.
about
I'm just looking at this bow tie, brother. I'm looking at this bow tie, man. You know, so
it's not clip on like yours, man.
Hey, man, I'm not ashamed to say that I will put on a clip-on bow tie.
You should be.
Why should I be? I mean, it's a bow tie.
You're not a little boy. You're not a little boy going to an Easter program, dude. You should be able to tie a bow tie by now.
Hey, man, I can tie a bow tie, but I prefer just to put on a clip-on.
No, if you can tie, but people who can tie bow ties don't prefer to put on clip-on.
Okay. All right, man. Well, you know what, man? And also, this is day 2 of the sock challenge. So we want to, for those who follow us on Facebook, go to our Facebook page and tell us which one has the most colorful sock on today. So, it's March Madness. So I broke out the basketball socks, and I don't know what you broke out with.
Man, let's get on with the show, man.
Hey, man, we got a powerhouse of guests that we are getting ready to bring on. So make sure you don't move away from YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, because we're going to be bringing on some women who are leaders in their profession. And Keith, this is Women History Month, and we put our own twist to it. We're calling it Black Women History Month. And so, man, we've got a group of distinguished women that we're going to be talking to tonight. And if you got any questions or comments, put them in the chat, and we'll get to those questions and comments. And Kimberly says, nice bow tie.
And yes, Gene.
The socks match the bow tie.
They do coordinate.
No, Gene, I don't know, Gene.
Man, would you go on and get to the guest, dude?
All right. Hey, let's bring our guest on. And we're going to be bringing on, hold on a second, we got the mayor, we got Dr. Brackney, and we got to go down here and get this fine young lady right here on the podcast. Ladies, welcome to You and the Law podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Hey, look here, man. This is a powerhouse show. We got some queens on the podcast tonight. I mean,
models, man. These ladies are models, man.
We got. Hey, listen.
We're gonna start our own Essence magazine. Right here. We're gonna bring back. Hey, y'all remember the Jet magazine? Featured on the Jet magazine? Yeah. We're gonna bring that back.
I will tell you, man. I've been excited about this episode, and once I think the audience hears who these, they hear these young ladies' qualifications and what they do, man. I mean, they're gonna inspire somebody. They're going to inspire somebody, because they're just, like I said, they are top notch.
Well, they're all leaders in their roles, and as we talk about Black women in leadership roles, this is going to be, a fun conversation to have. I think a conversation that we need to have, especially as Black men, recognizing our Black women who are in leadership roles. I don't think that's done a lot in our profession. So we've got 2 ladies who are former police chiefs, and we've got a current mayor who is a first-time Black mayor in the city that we both, I serve as a police chief and she served as the mayor. So this is so, ladies, nothing is don't hold back. Let's just have a conversation about what you all do and how you all have been able to accomplish successful things in your leadership roles. So we'll just kind of start up at the top with Bear Harmon, and you introduce herself, and we'll kind of come down and let let our other guests introduce who they are and what they're doing. So, Bear Harmon, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Chiefs. It is such an honor to grace your podcast, and I'm honored to be in the presence of two lovely Black women who are not only former police chiefs, but doctors too. All right, now, that's what I'm talking about. But I am Rosalind Harmon, mayor of Golden Valley, where I am so proud to call Chief Virgil Green our chief of police. I am new to this role. I have played a significant role with the city behind the scenes, helping with our first equity plan and advising the city on restorative practices, which is what I do in my daytime job. I am the executive director of Dispute Resolution Center, which is the first community mediation organization in the state of Minnesota, where we do mediation, civil, family, disputes, as well as restorative practices and restorative justice work, primarily for the city of St. Paul, where we have a Black mayor, Melvin Carter Jr. But I am just so happy to be in this position. Golden Valley is 85% white, the rest of color, which about 70% is African American. I've been a longstanding resident since I was 17, so I've been here almost 32 years. And we're at a moment in our time in the city where we are healing and we are rebuilding and we're reimagining. So a lot of great things happening in our city of just 23,000. But here we are, and I'm excited for what's to come. But I can say that, this is a moment in history where we've had the most diverse police department, public safety, as well as being mayor that the city has ever seen.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And so, in your role coming in as you've never been elected, and I think that's something that a lot of people may have served on a city council, then they decide to run for mayor, but you had never served in any capacity as an elected official. And I want you to share with us the story that you told about the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, about
Absolutely.
how some years before you decided to run, he kind of had this idea that you were destined to be where you are now.
He did. So I first just want to give honor to my bonus father, who was the first Black chief public defender for Hennepin County here in the state of Minnesota. And as a public defender, he was the mentor of our Attorney General, Keith Ellison. And it was in 2016 where Keith was speaking at the Minnesota Association of Black Lawyers Gala, which is a gala, an organization that my bonus father was a founding member. And he was talking about local people running for office. And out of the hundreds of people there from the podium, he called my name twice. And the first time he said that if I ran for anything, I'd be good at it. But the second time he said if I ran for mayor, he'd vote for me. And for all of those sitting at the table, including my mother, she's looking like, what is he talking about? Because you are not a politician, nor am I interested in politics, right? And lo and behold, here we go, fast forward, where the former mayor, really came to me asking if I would run because he did not feel he was going to run again. And he felt that because I focused my work in restorative and community collaboration and healing, that I would be a great candidate based on all that had happened in Golden Valley to bring community together. And just a fun fact, right? When people talk about mayors sitting on council first, Golden Valley has not had a mayor that has sat on council since 1989. So we all just came in serving on a commission and then running for it and winning.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So let's move down to, and Chief Watson,
Doc,
Dr. Chief Watson. Man, so tell our listeners about yourself and how you got to where you are today, and because you have an amazing story of where you started and where you are today.
Okay, well, thank you and Chief Humphrey for having me again on the show. I greatly appreciate it, and especially to share the show with these beautiful women that are sitting here with me today. Um, Currently, I am in the capital city of Sacramento, California. So I am a director for the Office of Public Safety Accountability. In this position, we have oversight over the Sacramento Fire Department and the Sacramento Police Department. I am about 2 months short of 5 years being here in the capital city. And it's ironic because I report directly to the mayor and 8 council members. So I have 9 bosses that I report to in this position. Of course, it is my first time having to report to all elected officials. And prior to coming to Sacramento, I was the first female, black female chief of police in the state of Nevada, as well as in the city of Henderson, Nevada. And I was there from 2017 to 2019. And the majority of my career, where I also worked for Chief Humphrey, was in Arlington, Texas. And I rose through the ranks there from police recruit to deputy chief of police prior to going to be a chief in the state of Nevada. So very interesting, I would say, career, especially going from sworn to a non-sworn position. Interesting is probably the best word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at policing from 2 different sides has been, I'll say, challenging, especially when you start talking about accountability and policing, because most people are very afraid
to talk about that accountability. Yeah.
Yes. And then to have someone who has more than 20 years of experience looking at you and your organization, it can be difficult for Sacramento, but it's definitely necessary, is what I would say.
Yeah. Let's move over to our next doctor.
Hey.
How you doing, ma'am?
I am doing well. I'm just.
And so I have to say, you're a first time guest on our podcast, and I want to make sure that this is not going to be your last time being on our podcast. So you have an open invitation to being a guest on our podcast, as well as our other 2 guests. So our other 2 guests have been on previously, but this is your first time on. So we're definitely blessed and honored to have you on.
So we're going to do like the Breakfast Club here, right? This is going to be the 5 of us just throwing it out there, Breakfast Club style. So thank you. I know we've been trying to do this for a minute, and our schedules have all been really crazy. And I'm just excited that this finally worked out, especially since I do get to see Tisha, not just, be virtual friends, our emails, like we're actually on the same space talking. Mm-hmm. So just a little bit about me. I started my career in Pittsburgh and spent almost 32 years in policing there when I started at the age of 2 and violated those child labor laws.
I believe you.
Much like Tisha, I rose up through the ranks and hit every single position and oversaw every aspect of Pittsburgh policing, and then rose to the number 3 position in that major organization. I left there as the commander of our major crimes division by the time I left there. And the reason I left is I retired so that I could then take over as chief of police at George Washington University. So I moved from municipal to academia, and it was a very different setting, policing at a university. As you all know, the challenges that we now have on our campuses. Well, I was doing that back in 2015, so I got my bona fides early, and with all of the protests that were going on there. Mm-hmm. Stayed there for about 3.5 years. Then I was recruited to go to Charlottesville, Virginia, and they brought me in after the Unite the Right rally and all the things that had happened there. with the issues around white supremacy, neo-Nazis. Heather Heyer had died. We were prepping for the second Unite the Right rally that was coming along. And along the way, went back to school as a non-traditional student. So shout out to Pittsburgh. And I don't know if y'all Steeler socks is what y'all are wearing, but
No, not we're not waving. We're not the
I'm
Steeler
just
wave.
saying. I'm just saying.
No, I'm a Cowboy fan.
I'm sorry to hear that. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. We all are sorry to hear that, right?
and so along the way, I thought that it was important, and I'm sure we'll get into the conversation. Is pursued my doctorate. You know, I attended Carnegie Mellon University for 2 of my degrees, and Robert Morris. And currently, I am a distinguished professor at George Mason University, where I teach on subjects like policing of Black bodies. Again, I do a lot of work in restorative justice and healing. And I shifted. I don't do work in reimagining anything because all we're going to do is keep shifting chairs, really. So a lot of the work I do around policing reform is imagining for the first time, what does public safety look like? What does policing look like? I'm currently writing 2 books. One is called The Bruising of America, When Black, White, and Blue Collide. And the second book that I just got under contract is called Policing in Justice. So the double entendre with injustice and injustice. The main lift right now, for those of us who are Noble members, I am chairing the National Chair for Training and Education. So full steam ahead for our conference in August in Hollywood, California, which I hope to see everybody there.
Oh
Yeah, we'll definitely be there.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
So Dr. Brackney and Dr. Watson. So let me ask you this: you all are. What made you both pursue your PhDs? I mean, what I'm gathering, and Letitia, I know the reason you are a connoisseur of education. I know this. Dr. Brackney, I would feel comfortable in saying the same thing about you. But what was the deciding factor of saying I'm gonna get my PhD, and what was that about?
Dr. Watson, if you want to go first, go ahead, my sister.
Well, as he said, he knows growing up in the Arlington Police Department and him becoming my first lieutenant. But we can even go back before that. When I was in the academy, he was my field training sergeant.
I'm sorry about that.
So I worked for him for quite a long time. But working in Arlington, we were required to have a bachelor's degree to even work in the organization to be hired. So that was common. When I arrived there, I was almost done with my master's degree. So it was just natural. I felt like it would be a great thing for me to obtain my PhD, especially because I chose to be in a profession that was male dominated. And so I wanted to ensure that I gave myself all the necessary tools to be very competitive, because I always felt like if I stayed in local law enforcement, I wanted to be the chief of police. And I knew that when I was in the academy. So I just wanted to ensure that I had all the tools necessary I say to compete, but I really mean to outdo the other that's in the process. And then, I started thinking about wanting to pursue a consulting firm, especially when I was sent by Arlington to Washington, D.C. To work for a year. And that's when I was crazy enough to say I wanted to do a second PhD, and that's in international psychology with a concentration in systems and organizations. So some of it was for my career, and then some of it was also that I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to achieving things.
We wouldn't say crazy,
It can be strange.
Focus.
Very, very
passionate.
So
Virgil, let me say this too. And what I want to share about her is that she did all of this. As a matter of fact, when she went through the academy, she had just I think her baby was 2 months old.
Yes.
She went through the academy 2 months old. finished the academy. But this is the unique. This is just shows you the challenges that Black women have on the job. This young lady was finishing up her master's degree. Okay, she was graduating with her master's. She had earned it. She had a supervisor that was going to refuse to allow her to go to her graduation. Basically said that we don't have the staffing that night, and so you can't go to your graduation.
You mean to your wait a second.
Her master's.
Her master's graduation.
He told her, Letitia, if I'm wrong, correct me. But were you not told? You were told that you would not be able to take off to go, receive her degree.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow,
that got changed real quick.
It did.
And the sad part is that it had to get changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's been the story for so many of us, and I can imagine, Mayor, yourself as well, is being in those positions where we have to change the narrative. And we have to understand that, as I tell people, as we were pursuing these things, I didn't do it for anybody else. I did it exactly for me, because otherwise you will fail. If you are doing this so they call you chief, as all of us on here know, or you do this because they call you mayor, or that you do this because they call you doctor, you will fail at that thing, because the title is not going to be enough to get the work done and to meet the expectations, etc. And just like Dr. Watson, very similarly, I had risen through the ranks, had all of the practitioner stuff behind me. And I noticed oftentimes that when I walked into a room and my counterparts, who were often white males and not having the same level of education or degrees or even just experience, they would often defer to them. I mean, literally defer to them. And I also knew that as I rose up the ranks, having something that not only made me more competitive, but then I could say, I'm not your DEI checklist, right? I am so qualified. My pedigrees speak for themselves as well as my experience. And I think there was also a personal note. My father had a 6th grade education. My mother had a GED, and I'm one of 6 kids. And the thing that they pushed for all of us was, growing up the way I grew up. I mean, literally in Pittsburgh, poor neighborhood, very violent neighborhood. Public assistance. There were 6 kids, 2 parents. There's never going to be enough money. That the way that they said was going to be education, right? And that's normally not the message we get or are given from society, right? We're living in these communities. They're like, oh, sell drugs, sell your body. You're not any better than this. Go play some sports and things of that nature. And I knew that was going to be my narrative. And just like Tisha, this wasn't easy. Like, so if any of you who have ever pursued a doctorate, I literally did my doctorate in 2 years and 9 months. From the time I started it, my classes, my dissertation, defending it, all while I was the chief of police at George Washington University and in Pittsburgh as the commander. And on Thursdays, because my professors would not let me do things remote after I'd moved to DC, every Thursday I got in a car, drove from DC to Pittsburgh 5 hours, sat in a class from 6 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock at night, and then drove back 5 hours for 18 months. Wow. So like our grinds and the things we have to do, because no one was going to take care of the university while I was gone. As a matter of fact, they would have said something, like, oh, if all hell had broken loose, she's out there in Pittsburgh doing this education thing. So I gave them no excuses. And so you're taking the classes, you're doing your job, you're still trying to be a parent, you're still trying to be a spouse or a partner. And then you have all these additional burdens that, I'm the first Black female at George Washington University as the police chief. I'm the first and only female and Black as the chief of police in Charlottesville, Virginia. So everything that I was doing was going to be looked at with a different lens, and there would be no reason for you to say that I was not qualified. I would outgrind you and outqualify you any day of the week.
Yeah. So ladies, as we talk about tonight's topic, Black women in leadership roles, all 3 of you all have been able to accomplish some things that a lot of people will say that's impossible. But what, as you know, doctor, as you talking about the PhDs getting that, was there any, and even for you, Letitia, as were there any of the other colleagues, I would say, uh, who were negative against that, who didn't really see the value that what you saw in yourself to become more educated? And as you just mentioned, Dr. Brackney, that you got, I'm just going to say it, you got white supervisors or commanders who are looking at other white men who are less qualified, but actually think that they're more qualified to give a response to something that you are just as, if not more experienced and qualified. How did you all work through that in your careers?
Hmm. I guess I can go first again, Chief. Um, some of the ways that I say I handle some of the negativity or the naysayers, I wouldn't advise for others to do it. I'm a very, very straight to the point person. So when I go and I speak to women at symposiums and other police functions, I'll talk about the good things that I've done throughout my rise to the top, as well as some of the things that I'm glad I've grown some and improved, especially being the young in age and in tenure, joining the deputy chief of police rank in Arlington. I could always remember being at the table, and we're taking a long, long time to make decisions. Now everyone wants the title of chief, but
Mhm.
when it's time to make decisions about operations, especially because we had to have two full-time SWAT teams because of the AT&T Stadium and the Texas Ranger Stadium, all the things that's going on in a tourism city. And all these men are sitting around and they want to be chiefs, but when it's time to make a decision, then everyone's just wasting time, and it's work that needs to be done. So, I said, oh, we need to do it this way. And again, it's like, you weren't speaking. No one heard what you said. And so my different personality, I said, well, you know what, everyone, and I kind of raised my voice. I said, I'm gonna step outside, strap my balls on. When I come back in, I'm gonna say the same thing I said an hour ago, and then we'll all listen outside and get back to my office and do my job. Of course, that wasn't the best thing to say, but it was true, because I don't have the same thing that they have. No one wants to pay attention, but the answer I had put before them well in advance, and they just ignored it. So that's one of the things that I'll always remember, that I say, that's not something we should do, especially when your chief is sitting there, and he thought it was hilarious because he knows me to be just very, very bold. So he was like, well, I mean, she has a point. So again, it went over well. I didn't get in trouble. I thought I would, but I didn't. And when it comes to the level of education, I would always hear, well, why are you doing that? You don't need it. It's not necessary. And I always try to remind myself not to pay attention to words and pay attention to action, because a lot of the people who said that, it wasn't long that they went and tried to do the exact same thing that I did at Arlington. Every little thing that I did, everyone wanted to follow through. And I always reminded people, just because you do some of the same things that I did, or you follow the same career path, or you're trying to, you're not me. I bring different things to the table. So I'm a different person. My characteristics are going to be different from yours. And I don't want to just sit in a leadership role. I am a leader. So it's a difference between somebody wanting a position and they want to be in a leadership role, and them actually being a leader and have that ability to influence others to do things that they don't want to do or they can't do. So that was probably the easiest way for me to deal with it, so that I didn't have to, hit anyone upside the head or anything like that, just for being dumb or having an attitude for no reason, just because, I'm a different gender, I look different from them. Because it's a lot of that in policing. Yeah. White males.
And Madam Mayor, I'm sure you face the same things when you walk in a room, that there's, regardless, I mean, that you face the exact same stuff, right?
Absolutely. And for me, for my first year, I felt it was really important for me to just keep my mouth shut and really observe and learn. And now it's time for me to open my mouth. And I think that, especially when you're in a predominantly white space, as we've all been in, right? People can be very intimidated when we walk into the room, because, they think about the angry Black woman syndrome and just all of these crazy biases and stigmas that, we've had that have been labeled on us for so many years and for so long. But for me, I know that I'm here for a reason. And I was telling myself when I was running, I was like, oh boy, I know I'm gonna have to clean up some mess. And throughout my career, I've always been cleaning up, right? And even in my own house, I love to clean. I like to keep a clean house. But I was sharing with my mom, I'm like, I'm tired of cleaning. And I don't want to keep cleaning messes, because this job is not about to make me go gray. I refuse, right? So, but at the same time, I think this is a gift, right? Especially that Black women have. But when we're coming behind people cleaning up messes, right? We do it well. And so I find myself cleaning up a mess, but I also feel that it's so important, like you said, Dr. Watson, we have to be that bold person and we have to take a stand, because you're not going to disrespect me in this space. And even though it was a shock, I came in like Obama, y'all. It was like I just came out of nowhere. And it was a shock to the
Well, it was definitely a shock to the community, because nobody thought, I think I've only been in the city for what, a year, a little over a year. And to go from having the city's first Black police chief, then to hear the news that there is a Black woman running for mayor, and the fact that it was a path that, she won, but a lot of people had this idea that, prior to me coming into the city hired the first Black. She was a commander then, but she's my assistant chief now, Alice White from Minneapolis Police Department. So here's a city that has always looked whitish, and now all of a sudden here's a city that is transforming to have more people of color in leadership role positions. And here she comes, beating a person who had been on the city council for a number of years. And so here's a Black woman beating a white woman who has been on the city council. And I don't think, there was some walls probably rattling around about how could this happen in Golden Valley. And so, Dr. Watson and Dr. Brackney, I don't know how familiar you are with Minnesota, but Minnesota has this term, and Mayor, I know I'll let you say this. What is it? Minnesota
nice.
Minnesota nice.
Minnesota nice.
And it is.
And my husband's from Mississippi, so let me help y'all with that. Y'all like sweet tea, right? You taste all good going down, but you're deadly, right? So that, and I don't know if you know this, remember, Virgil, but I was one of the finalists for the police chief in Minneapolis.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say, y'all look at their credentials and look at mine, and the person who is there, I'm sure Chief O'Hara's doing a good job, does not look like me at all. And my experience, etc. But too, they felt more comfortable with after somebody, right, after that incident there. But the thing I wanted to just focus on for 1 second is I appreciate how we all can say we're the first, but I think the one thing I would even caution us more and more about is confusing our presence with authentic power, right? Because we are the first, and we are these, oftentimes people will allow us to sit in those spaces and not give us the authentic power that our counterparts have been given. And so I can even imagine, as the mayor, the first year being quiet, And now the second year, if you bust up out of there and you are doing something different than they're used to, they're like, well, what's wrong with her? Why is she so angry? They were, because they're more comfortable with our presence than they are our power. And so, I think about the resistance that I've had along the way. Authentically, the resistance. I remember I was up for the assistant chief position, which is the second in charge in Pittsburgh, and there was 2 positions, and there were 3 total positions, but 2 were open. And I came in, they ranked us 1, 2, and 3, and I'm number 1, and 2 white males were behind me. I'm at that time pursuing my doctorate. One has a high school education, the other one has his master's. I have more time on than both of them. I've been at every position, been to the FBI National Academy, Secret Services Academy. I've been to Redstone, where they're trying to close it in Huntsville, Alabama, bomb school, right? I run our SWAT teams, hostage negotiations, our training academy. You name it, I've done it. And when it all came through and open, the chief that was there said specifically to me is, you have a lot of baggage with you. And that's the whole thing when they look at Black women. I'm outspoken, I was this, and he needed some distance between this attitude of a woman. And he promoted both of those white men over me, and then said to me, if you wait a couple years, when the third person leaves who's a Black female, I'll give you that position. So it was like you couldn't have 2 of us, and you definitely couldn't have more qualified than probably the chief, his credentials that they had brought in as well, right? Who was a white male. So what I want us to think about is when you talk about overcoming stuff, the majority of us on this screen have had to overcome just how someone else perceives us to be. And Dr. Watson, I'm like you. I have said some things I just wished I could have just rolled back now that I've matured.
Yeah.
That as I've learned and said, you know what, not every battle has to be fought, and not everyone has to be fought publicly. Not everyone has to be fought publicly. And I've learned that going ahead strong up against somebody. I didn't make a comment as I left the room, but I've thrown up some deuces in that room, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Hey, man, she said she threw up some deuces.
I did, but they didn't know what I was doing.
But ladies, let me ask you this, because there's some young ladies watching this that aspire to be leaders in police departments. They may be informal leaders right now. They could be in supervisory roles, but not up to that level. So I just want to share with you, as a police chief and as a girl dad, I have no problem with you speaking your mind. I think you have to. I think you have to establish the fact that, and Leticia, Dr. Watson, I'm going to say this. I brought Dr. Watson in to talk to a group of females when I was in Norman. And what I've seen with females, Black and white, that they feel that they have to act a certain way to fit in with male officers. So they have to use excessive force, or they have to, take the cursing and, and things like that. They have to curse and they have to do this. But she spoke to a group of young ladies and basically said, I am who I am. I get my nails done. I get my hair done. Okay. I'm a mama. I'm a wife. I like to go dancing. I like to go on dates with my husband. But don't get it twisted. I know what I'm doing. And so, why do and I've seen this for years, why do Black females, why are they put in that position? Why do they at some point have to put someone in check to prove they belong when the credentials are there? The credentials are there. They've done the research. They've checked. They know you're right. Because there's no way anybody on this screen can apply for a job, put out a resume, and that your resume is not confirmed. That people do not go back and check. So why is that? Do you remember the first time, ladies, each one of you all, do you remember the first time when you had to stand up and say, I belong here. I'm here. Deal with it.
So before y'all answer that, something I want to say, Key, is that, and I've said this on the podcast before, oftentimes we as Black men are not standing up.
We don't defend.
We are not standing up in the spaces that we're in to correct other colleagues. We're just sitting there and not saying anything. And ladies, if you all can speak to that, because I think that's what's also missing is the Black males who need to stand up. It's not that you can't, speak for yourself or do what you need to do, but have there been also a lack of male who are in these positions to utilize their position or utilize their voice to say, nah, we're not doing that. That you all have had to experience in your policing careers?
So I'll just start it really quickly. When you start, I had just turned barely 21 years old. So I'm brand new, I'm young, and able to do this work. I am able to do this work. Do not get it twisted. I am the same, like hair done, nails checked, right? Makeup on, walking out the door. And just for those young ladies who are listening and think that you have to conform, the first thing I was interested in is when I heard you all sock challenge. If you go back and talk about, I revealed probably about 6 years ago for the first time that I violated uniform policy my entire career. I did. And why? I wore a different pair of socks, the bright, colorful, hidden beneath my pants and things like that. And the key is that although I have to wear this uniform, I am unique. I am different. I am me. And so I wore a different pair of color and was known eventually for these colorful socks that I would wear to remind myself that I did not have to conform to do the work in the way that I didn't have to compromise who I was. They didn't have to compromise who they were, and I wasn't going to do that. And then the first time that I remember, true story, that I had to literally remind somebody that I was there. This is before the sexual harassment days. My inspector took like one of those tubes, and so an inspector, for those of you who know that, like, you don't mess with the inspector. And I'm on probation. I'm still new. And he takes one of those architect tubes with a blueprint as I'm bending over doing some work, and he smacks me on my behind with it. And this is 1985. And without thinking, because I remember who I was raised by, like, I'm one of 6 kids. I have a brother who's the oldest, and then 5 Brackney girls in a row. 5 of us coming strong, right? So when the Brackney girls is rolling up on you, it's about to jump off. But without even thinking about it, the book I had in my hand, I just turned around and swung and hit him right upside his head with it. And everyone was like, you are going to be fired. You're going to, I mean, I didn't realize it was my inspector, but it probably didn't make any difference anyway. And so, but none of the men who saw that happen, including a Black male sergeant, said a word. And actually almost admonished me. Oh, you're going to get in trouble. You're like, I was the issue because he had smacked me on my behind with something. So from that point on, I mean, I became a target, but they knew not to mess with me in that way, right? I was not going to be that chick that you were going to harass, that you were going to pressure and having sex with. And there's a lot of that pressuring going on, even if I think about it in politics, but in policing, for women particularly, and Black women more specifically, there's that pressure that goes on to conform because they are often left out on the limb by themselves and they don't want to be out there. It's lonely and it's scary and it can be deadly.
So Dr. Brackney, that's so interesting that you say that, because a friend of mine sent a text message to me saying why a chosen woman always walks alone, right? And I haven't had the opportunity to listen to it yet, but you know, it's lonely in this position, right? And So when you spoke, Dr. Watson, about how, or Dr. Brackney, about how Dr. Watson was there for you and you all didn't even really know each other, iron sharpens iron, right? And so I've got a partnering mayor right next to me, St. Louis Park, who is the first Somali in the nation, right? Yeah. And she's young. She's 28 years young, but it's like there's another Black mayor here in Brooklyn Center, and then a Latina in Columbia Heights. And so we come together, and it's a beautiful thing, right, to see. I have to share a story which is so powerful because Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she held a meeting for the 5th district, which Golden Valley falls under, with Minneapolis and other cities. And as we were there for lunch, the tables were in a square and we were at the head, and I sat to her right. Mayor Mohammed sat to her left, and then to the left of Mayor Mohammed was Mayor Graves, and then to my right was Mayor Amatha. We are all women of color, and that is the first time under her tenure as Congresswoman that she has had all women of color sitting alongside of her. Because one mayor who is in New Hope is a white woman, and she was the first and the only for quite some time. And so to see all of us sitting next to her, that was such a powerful moment. And we took a photo. But it's just, we have to stick together. We have to stick together in this work because it's hard. It's hard, and we're met with so many challenges. But when it comes to our brothers, right, it's difficult when they're silent, seeing what we're up against. I'm dealing with it, but I don't let it get to me, because I know, right, as a spiritual woman, that who I need will come there. And I've got Chief, right? I've got you.
Oh yeah, I'm there. I'm down.
And so I try not to worry about that too tough. It's disappointing, no doubt, but I think you have to sit down, which I did. I sat down and I had to let them know, like, hey, I need you. I need your support. I need you to take a stand. I need you to speak up and use your voice. And now that it's shifted, so it's powerful, but I think that, the more that they see us in leadership, the more they'll take it seriously. And, we're throwing our first iftar dinner together as a partnership because it's important for our communities to see two Black women coming together saying, hey, we are here and you cannot stop us from doing what it is that we are called to do on behalf of our cities.
Hey, ladies, let me jump in here.
To get the invite to hang out with Representative Omar. Like, I just found my picture of us together at the TV.
Yes,
I was so fangirling. Like, I was fangirling. I'm like, you want to put a picture of CBC? And she's like, yes. And they were like, you're going to take a picture with her? Yes. I want a picture of the squad. I want her. So you can get us all together.
Absolutely.
That's my ask.
Well, okay, all right, come on.
I'm pretty sure she can do it. She has the swag and the pull to do it. So yeah. So ladies, hold on just a second. So again, for those who are tuning in on our YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, tonight's topic is Black women in leadership roles. If you got any questions, comment, put them in the chat. We'll get to those and answer your questions. Again, we've got a powerhouse full of women who are in local government, who are being police chiefs. And so, again, ladies, we're just definitely honored to have you on. And as we talk about this important topic related to Black women in leadership roles during Women History Month, and like I said earlier, we put our own little twist to it. We're calling it Black Women History Month because I think it's real important that we recognize the the contribution that women play in government and in education. And so, because if we don't tell our stories, who will?
Right. So I wanna ask each one of our guests. So take us through your first day, Brackney. I mean, Dr. Bradley, Dr. Watson, Mayor, take us through your first day, your first official day. You've gone through the election, you've won the election, your first day as mayor. Dr. Brackney, you've been hired as the chief of Charlottesville. Yeah. Dr. Watson, you've been hired as the chief of Henderson. Take us through your first day. Mayor, go ahead.
Oh no. Let me think about, you don't want to hear about my first day.
But, let's just say this. She's still waiting to be onboarded after 1 year of being an elected official. There was never been an official onboarding that this lady has received coming in, being a newly elected official. And so I'll let her tell the story, but again, yeah.
So my first day, I had no city manager. I had no department. Pretty much all of our department heads had quit.
Yeah.
And I'm just, my colleagues aren't, talking to me because I won. So I was just,
which is a true fact. None of her
right?
other elected officials are welcoming. They're not just like, hey, here you are. Glad you're here. No, none of that.
And so it my first day was really like, whoo, I'm in this. Here we go. So I came in with a smile on my face and figuring it out, which is what we do, right? We figure it out. So if you're not going to help me, guess what? I'm going to call on people who can. And when I tell you I have an amazing support system, including my own mother, right? Give it up to our family, right? Who are with us every step of the way. But it took residents, real talk, and former council people who I could call on, including other elected officials who today are still guiding me and giving me the expertise that I need. Yes.
Dr. Watson?
Day one. Oh, wow. Very similar, I would say, a little similar, I'd say, to Mayor's story. I will have a caveat, though, because I knew coming into the position, I was well aware of all the issues at the organization. So the city manager and the city attorney were very clear, even before I accepted the position, of I was coming in as the cleanup woman. So I knew that coming in. Just walking into the room and looking at the entire command team, and it was all white, and the looks on their faces looking at me. The organization had not dealt with a Black female sworn at all. And so the first time that they have to deal with a Black woman is someone that's going to be telling them what to do and running the organization. So you could tell it was a hard pill for them to swallow. And although, they were saying, congratulations, we're happy you're here, they were saying the right things, but the facial expressions and the demeanor was saying something totally different. So I knew I was in for a treat. It didn't bother me. I was a little bit taken back because my hiring authority, my city manager, was out on medical leave. And then it would take me about a month or so to find out that he was diagnosed with throat cancer. And then that's when I would be thrown to the wolves. But prior to that, like I said, the first month, you'll see everyone running around saying all the right things, basically trying to kiss your butt, trying to get close,
Mm-hmm.
to get the things that they want and to line up what they want. But realizing and knowing what type of environment it was, and all of the commanders, meaning the prior chief of police and the deputy chiefs of police, were all let go due to um, sustained sexual harassment and sexual assault. So it took out the entire administrative team as to
Mm-hmm.
why they were doing an outside search to begin with. So in that sense, I knew what I was taking on and what I was coming into the whole situation.
So, Chief, coming from Texas, going halfway across the country to Nevada, knowing that you're the first Black female in the history of the whole state of Nevada, and now in the city of Henderson, how did you adjust to that? How did your family adjust to that? Because it's for those of us who've had to leave and go halfway across the country into a state that you've never been in. What were some of the things that you dealt with uh, in internally and externally?
Um, you know what? I didn't. It didn't even appear or seem to me like a challenge. I mean, I was excited. I was ready to get started. I was a believer, so I knew from all the experiences and all the different places in the country and outside the country that I've been sent to by Arlington. I was ready. I had more than enough experience and characteristics to turn the organization around. So I wasn't intimidated. I wasn't nervous. It was something I had to do, but I had been, I would say, really prepared by the leadership in Arlington. And I would say, it was seen early on in my career that I was, what you would say is, I could come in and really, I had a keen interest in figuring out what the root causes of an issue was, and in developing a strategy in order to turn that around. So I was ready to do that. What I wasn't ready for is, I came from an organization that valued women at every rank, um, that was very intentional about diversity, um, and I had a lot of men mentors at that time, who were very specific about making sure I had everything I needed to develop into the leader I needed to be. Um, and I just did not, I would say, have the awareness to understand that those type of organizations that I went to exist. And so going into that organization and seeing how women were non-existent, and the ones that were in the organization, they were at the very bottom of the organization, and listening to their stories about them being cursed out, yelled at, like, someone there is their mother or father or something, just to call, uh, you know, obscene words and stuff like that. Just the culture of that organization was like night and day to what I had experienced. So that's probably the hardest part, is recognizing the understanding across this country, that police culture and police subcultures have a very, very direct impact on how people are treated, and what is
Yeah.
bred into that organization. And
Yeah.
so I got a rude awakening, is what I'll tell you. A very rude awakening.
Chief Brackney, what about you? I know you got a story.
I'm just gonna be honest. Like Charlottesville gave me hell all the way around. So just set the stage. Charlottesville is on the national and international news.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I come there as the first female to be there, and a Black woman, and I'm in the heart of the Confederacy. I'm in the heart of where slavery and Monticello and Jefferson are revered. Um, the community, those people who were left and progressive and Black who look like me, were screaming at me, screaming as I come through the station that cops and Klan go hand in hand, that I'm a sellout as a Black person come to take over this. So I had Black community mad at me. I had white community mad at me. I had white liberals mad at me. I had neo-Nazis mad at me. The clergy was cussing me out. True story.
Wow.
The clergy. Um, Now I'm gonna just say it wasn't our kind of clergy, because that would have been a Kojic path to hell. But the clergy was cussing me out,
Mm-hmm.
and my staff. So I come in there. I'm the only woman of color there. and I'm running the organization. And so we're preparing for the second Unite the Right rally anniversary. We're 6 weeks out by the time I arrive. There's all this stuff going on in court, and met with these faces, literally people with their arms crossed. I'm getting emails literally already to my chief's email box flooded that I've taken the job of a well-qualified white man for, as someone called me, an affirmative action quota hire turned desk jockey, is how they were referring to me. And as I'm walking down the hall trying to find my office for the first time, right? Because your office
nobody took you and showed you the office.
no one showed me the office. I literally showed up and literally was knocking on the door to get in, because you get buzzed into your location. I'm knocking on the door, so nobody shows me where office is. I'm trying to find it and get pointed. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I see this person come towards me, who's a lieutenant at the time, and in uniform, and says to me, and I don't do Southern accents well, but it was something like this: I just want to let you know, I vote straight ass Republican, and I don't drink no goddamn pumpkin lattes. And
Whoa.
I said, cool. I don't drink any effing pumpkin lattes either. I'm a Starbucks, and then I whipped off that I have a peppermint white mocha extra hot, light whipped cream. And he was like, what? So that was my first day walking through the door where the lieutenant was comfortable enough to let me know about his political affiliations and how he felt about me being there. Much like Dr. Watson, I was ready though. Like by the time I got done with him, he was my champion supporter, that when they gave me hell there, he was the one out there in front of the media saying they did her wrong, she was doing the right things, and we had this all wrong. Like, you can change an organization, but that was my first day on the job as the police chief in Charlottesville.
Wow.
Well, it's amazing, and ladies, thank you, because I think we talk about these things, and as Black men, we talk about the experiences that we have, and I always share, if you think I had a hard time, you need to talk to some of the Black females that are in these positions. And so for you all to share it, be open and share this information. So somebody's out there listening, some young Black female is listening. And let me just tell you, I'll say this as a girl dad, I appreciate y'all. This was well needed. They need, my daughters needed to hear this. Other people's daughters need to hear this. Young women who are in police work or any other profession, they needed to hear this. So thank you. And I'm gonna say this real quick. And Letitia, you may have forgotten about this. You probably forgot about somebody coming up to you and telling you that you shouldn't take a promotion. That you hadn't been there long enough and nobody would respect you because you hadn't been there long enough, and you shouldn't take your promotion. You should turn it down.
Yeah, sergeant promotion.
A sergeant's promotion. Wow.
They just wanted the spot. They wanted the spot themselves, right? That's
well,
all.
this is one that said she didn't want to be a sergeant there and blah blah blah. But then he took his promotion, and so Letitia told me that I'm ready to box. I'm ready to box, and so but it's I wanted people. Thank you all because young Black women needed to hear this. That the determination, the class, the intelligence, the strength. They needed to hear this from each one of you.
Well, and also, Keith, that don't give up just because you're hearing about all these challenges that each of you have faced and continue to face. That this isn't just because you're hearing all this here doesn't mean, well, now I don't want to get into policing, or no, I don't want to become a mayor, or no, I don't want to be, run for city council or whatever it may be, because you never know until you get outside of your comfort zone, to put yourself in those spaces, to to say this is a space that I belong in. And so, and I think that is something. And ladies, a couple of years ago, there was we saw a lot more women police chiefs. We saw, yourself,
black women police.
black women police chief. We saw, Leticia, yourself, Dr. Brackney. We saw you in Charlottesville. We saw Renee Hall in Dallas. We saw so many
Carmen
other.
was in Seattle, and Danielle was in Philly and Portland, right?
In North Carolina had, I believe, 5 black women.
I thought they had 7. With
Seven?
Gina Hopkins and,
Yeah, 7.
And Vera Bumpers, who is like renowned.
Right.
She is the godmother. She's the godmother.
Yeah, I mean, they slowly picked us off one at a time.
Yeah.
Literally have picked us off one at a time.
And that is something that I don't think we have really just it's noticed in our circle, but when you look back at how black women were put in these positions, they were not put in the positions to succeed. They were put in these positions almost like to fail. Yeah. We're going to put you here to say we did, and it's left up to you if you're going to be successful. But when you have so many obstacles that you're dealing with, then you've got a city manager or a mayor who's just going to pull that and say, okay, well, I tried it, and now here's a white male or a white female who can do a better job. And so, that's not fair. And it's something that I don't think even at our Noble conferences, last year we had, Keith, you did the brother to brother. Then there was the sister to sister, which I think was the first time that Noble had put something like that together. But I think it was a really good. People were able to share their experiences, and I hope that is something that continues at our Noble conferences, because even outside of Noble conferences, we need to be able to speak about these things. And when women, especially women, get in these positions, that they're in those positions as long as they want to be in those positions, and not just when a city manager or a mayor says, you've been there for 2 years, I'm going to remove you. Right. and have that support.
But the thing I would just add just very quickly to that, and I know we're pressing up on time, is this.
Yeah.
We have to be there, though. Like, as hard as it is.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't see the mayor's face, and I can't see Doc's face, and I can't see you all's faces, right? Then we don't have hope. Like, the next generation can't see this. Mm-hmm. And although it's been difficult, let me just say this. I've guarded presidents, whether it was Obama or Clinton or Bush or Cheney. I've VIPs and prime ministers and from all heads of state from all over. I've run the G20 conferences. I just spent my last year at Harvard as a fellow doing work on social justice. I literally can go anywhere and have taught in places like Russia and Tbilisi, Georgia, and things that I would have never have been able to do as this little, and none of us is, if y'all saw the screen, none of us are big. I'm 5'7", 135 pounds, right? But I would have never been able to do it from this poor little black girl.
Yeah.
From Homewood to Harvard, had this job not provided me with that visibility.
Yeah.
To do this kind of work. So you're right, Mayor. When you're chosen to do this work, when you're led to the places you're led to, it may be rough. And we all have our Job moment, but you know what? When they talk about joy coming in the morning, It does come in the morning. As long as you stay on that path that you were chosen to be on.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
We may not understand it, but if we just be patient, we'll see it.
That's right.
We'll figure it out.
Right. Ladies, I found the Cleanup Woman song by Betty Wright. So we're gonna have to, yeah. So that's gonna be y'all theme song. That's gonna be your theme music.
All right.
Hey, Dr. Brackney, before we go, let me correct me if I'm wrong. So in August, Renee will be sworn in as president of Noble.
Yes.
And then you're next, right?
So next is Mitch Davis.
Mitch
Out
is.
of Hazelcrest. And I am actually running for second vice president. So I am running to take over as second vice president of Noble and would eventually ascend to the national presidency.
Okay.
So feel free, jump on
we
in.
got you.
You're gonna be running against Booker Hodges.
I am, and I also know that Kevin Granville, my brother-in-law, is also running again from Broward County.
We got you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just wherever God is leading me. If that's where I'm supposed to be, if not, I'll continue to serve Noble in whatever way I'm called to do that.
Yeah. Well, ladies, go ahead,
y'all know Dr. Watson. Dr. Watson don't look like she's 65, does she?
What did you just say, man?
Man, I'll tell you, Dr. Watson is a baby. I'm telling you, she's a baby.
Did he just say you don't look like you 65?
But she gonna
gives me a hard time all the time.
Listen, I ain't mad at y'all. I will be 63 this year. I don't care. I will be.
Hey, ladies. He's the oldest one on the screen.
That's not true. That's not true.
Listen, we are as I just found this out. There was a priest from Ghana who was preaching, and they referred to their elders as seasoned kettles.
Absolutely.
So we some seasoned.
Come on, Dr. Brackney. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that because this dude right here, he's going to use that.
I am
for now on, that he's seasoned kettle.
But I will tell you this, ladies. Thank you all so much. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for embracing us.
We got some comments in the chat. So we've got Rose McGee, which is the mother of Mayor Rosalind Harmon. She says she's so proud of you all, including my lovely daughter, Mayor Rosalind Harmon. Beautiful. Thank you, Chief Green, for hosting. So we've got Ms. Humphrey, who says, I got y'all.
But this one right here, Alina W. says, my mama is young.
I didn't know. Wait a minute. I didn't even know my daughter's name was Alina. But go ahead, Alina.
Alina. And so this is the deal. I don't want to. Hey, listen. Remember that 2-year-old I was telling you, 2-month-old I was telling you about? This is a beautiful young lady that's waiting to go to veterinarian school now. Wow. And so let me just say this. I'm scared of her. That's my god baby. That's my baby. And her whole family, Letitia's whole family, we've adopted as our kids. So,
Letitia, golly.
Man, let's just go on and close out the show. You're gonna say something. Ridiculous, let's just do it, man. Just close out the show. But Letitia, Pam said hello, Letitia.
Hey, Miss Pam.
Yeah. So again, this has been a privilege and an honor to have you three on. We've had on Chief Bumpers, we've had on so many. We've had on Linda Johnson. We've had on so many
Linda
other
Williams.
women.
Linda with an I, boo, or Y, not an I. Linda with a Y, not an I.
Yeah. And so for you all to take the time out of your busy afternoons to come on and join us and to have some fun and to talk about some serious topics, this has been great. So again, we want to definitely thank you all. And again, hopefully we can do this again to get some more women on our podcast to talk about topics related to women in leadership roles. So again, thank you all. And Keith, I'll let you, we'll let the old man close out the podcast.
No, I just, like I said once, I thank you, Dr. Brackney. We got you. You got my vote.
Thank you so much.
She has my vote too.
Yeah.
And
you have mine in spirit, sis. I'm not a part of Noble.
No. You need to join Noble. You need to come to the conference. You need to come to the conference.
Hey.
Virgil.
Oh yeah. I'll make that happen. She'll be an elected official coming to a Noble conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll definitely do that. But yeah, again, ladies, thank you all, and for all of those who are tuned in on our YouTube page, Facebook, LinkedIn, we want to thank you all, and make sure that if you miss any parts of this podcast, that it will be on our YouTube. It would be put on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, you will find You and the Law, and you can also go to our website, which is www.youandthelawpodcast.com, to find out more about our podcast, our links to our podcast, and ladies, tell your friends if they're not following You and the Law, they gotta follow, like us, and to listen to some of
Come on.
download the podcast. And so, what is Dr. Brackney? Now, do you also host a
Dr.
podcast?
Blackney. Dr. Blackney. Don't call her Dr. Brackney again.
You know what? I'm gonna let him go with that. Listen, when you hosting it, you have a few editorial privileges.
and I'm always gonna be corrected. So now, do you also host a podcast?
Yes, I actually started hosting a podcast about 1.5 years ago. I actually took it over from someone. So the podcast is called Black Arm of the Law, in which we talk about all the things that impact the criminal legal system. But I actually took it over because the actor Carl Anthony Payne, who used to play Cole on the Martin Show, it was his.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, he had me on one day, and then his producer and team calls me and asks would I start co-hosting it with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure. And then I get a call like a week later saying, well, could you host it by yourself? So I took it over from Carl because Carl was going on tour. And so my producer is a team that produces him and D.L. Hughley and Brian McKnight and all these other podcasters. So I do a podcast, and I normally am recording on Thursdays, but I've moved to Fridays, which makes this possible today.
Yeah,
so,
well,
yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
so I told you we had some heavy hitters, man. Now let these ladies got things to do, man. Don't be so long-winded. Let these ladies go.
We going to boo up with her husband. That's what I'm going downstairs to make sure I say Mary.
Absolutely. You know what? Go, man.
Yeah. So ladies, again, thank you all. It's been a great evening having you on our You and the Law podcast. And everybody, make sure you tune in next Thursday for another episode of You and the Law podcast.
Thank you so much. Be well.
All right. Thank you all.
Always.